Hold your fire.
Going live, Lewis, in 3, 2. I think we're live. I don't just hand out the tweets willy nilly. You gotta wait a second. I gotta make you wait
Parcel
for it.
them out like some kind of. Hey, could I use the word parsimonious?
Sure. Anytime you want, you can use that word here. Boom. And we're live. The great Lewis Wallace.
And the parsimonious Airpods Elijah. Stingy with the tweets.
All right. Here's your tweet. You old conniver, you. Trying to trick me into giving you this tweet for free. Well, here it comes. This is gonna really bring him in. I should have tagged Elon Musk. Maybe he'd show up for this. He seems to be showing up for everything these days. You know, you just tag him and he shows up,
I'll
man.
do it.
All you gotta do is tag him. Shout out to Streamlined Cult Cast, the best a man can get. We got Jay Cruz here saying, "Hey y'all." Oh, he wants a yeah. There you go, Jay. Lewis, I don't want to hear nothing about it. We got a exciting show here for you all today. I don't know. We'll see if people actually want to hear us talk about Twitter and Apple. It's boiling over though. We've avoided it for as long as possible. No longer. We've got to confront this news head on. And eventually we may all be using, I think they would call them X phones. It would be like a SpaceX phone. In fact, this ties into something that I said a while back. I remember I was saying SpaceX is launching all these satellites all over the earth. I think they have coverage on all 7 continents now. At a certain point, you may not even need to have a cell tower because these satellites seem like they're capable of transmitting, bandwidth back and forth between normal phones now. So, Elon Musk might be actually making a play for that. I wouldn't be surprised if that were the truth. Did you guys get anything for Black Friday weekend? Oh, man. I got some stuff. I got more stuff than I was planning on getting. I just saw so many great prices, and I ended up buying a bunch of stuff that I probably would never have bought. Like I bought a brand new TV, Lewis.
What?
I bought a brand new TV. And my wife was like, "You just bought a TV." And I was like, yeah. But wait a second. This TV is going to go in the living room. And then I'm going to take the TV that we have in the living room, which is the OLED that I bought last year, and put it in Cult Command Center somewhere. And she's like, "You want a 65-inch TV in Cult Command?" And I was like, "What? Come on. Do I look like I go any smaller than 65? Now, sure, it's gonna look ridiculous in here because there's barely a space for a 55.
As wide as the room.
Yeah, right. But we're gonna make it happen. So I got a crazy deal. I got a crazy deal on this Sony OLED. And if you all know anything about TVs, Sony OLEDs are not cheap, but they are outstanding, like the best. It's a QD OLED too, so it's like the newest OLED technology. And I was not planning on buying one. And then I saw this deal pop up, and I was like, I'll just buy it and I'll think about it for an hour because I don't know if I'm going to keep it since I wasn't planning on buying a TV. And then an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and I convinced myself that I deserve the TV and that I should keep it.
How much did you spend on this, if I may ask?
Okay, you want to hear the details? All right. So this is the A95K. So it's like one of Sony's top tier QD OLEDs.
I don't even know what a QD OLED is.
It's quantum dot OLED. So
it sounds like you're saying cutie.
Cutie. Well,
oh,
yeah.
What a cutie.
I only use that word when I'm talking about Buster. I'll have you know. And OLEDs. Q and D. D like a dog, Lewis.
Quantum dot, is that what you said?
Quantum dot, yeah. So it's a new way to illuminate it's a new way to illuminate OLED televisions, and there's like a filter that changes the illumination into different colors. So it's like a more efficient way of creating OLED. They can get much brighter. They have way more color saturation than previous generation OLEDs. And so Samsung and Sony released these QD OLEDs this year, and I was kind of like toying with the idea of getting the Samsung, and then the Sony deal popped up. It's I think like a $3,300 TV, and I got it for $2,500.
Oh my God.
Which is a lot for a 65-inch TV. It's One of the most, it's one of the largest amounts I've ever spent on a TV, although way less than my Pioneer Plasma that I bought like 12 years ago. I think I paid $3,500 for that maybe, which is crazy. But
Wow.
I kept that TV for like 12 years. Anyway, I digress. So it was $2,500, and everyone on the deal site that I go to was like, "This is a killer deal. This is the lowest that it's ever been." And so, and that was $2,500 no tax. It was just $2,500, and so I pulled the trigger. So, and I've been wanting to have a TV out in Colt Command Center for a multitude of reasons. And I was looking for a TV to put out here, but then I was like, okay, well, I'll just put this Sony in the living room where it will just, be glorious to watch movies on. And then I'll move the LG C1, which is what I have now, the 65-inch, to the Colt Command Center. And I'm going to be using it for like gaming and stuff. I really wanted to have something out here to connect to my gaming PC. And then also, I have some ideas on how I can use a TV to like record B-roll for products once I resurrect my my long forgotten YouTube channel. Which, man, I've been biting at the bit to get back to that because there's been some great stories out lately. But so I got that, and I got some other stuff too, which we don't have time to go into today. Keith Long wants to know where the other guy is. What other guy? There's only two guys you need to know: Mono, Imano. We're like that meme where Schwarzenegger and that black guy are like clasping hands in Predator. Their biceps are just like bulging. I guess I'm Schwarzenegger. You're Dylan. That's who we are.
Sounds fair.
Should we talk about some Apple stuff, Lewis?
Why bother?
The most interesting part of the show is over. Let's get into.
I think you should start the show.
Let's get into the show. It's only 12:40. Maybe we should start it. All right, let me cue up Mrs. You Know Who, and we will get this thing rolling. Oh, Mrs. D. Did I hear someone say grappling? Oh, yeah, Mrs. D. Did you hear my meme analogy? Oh, yes. I was grappling with one Mr. El Caney last night in the nude. Ugh! God, gross. How often do these escapades happen? It's like every week there's a new story. It's so weird. Can't keep their hands off each other. Well, Mrs. D, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and get the show rolling. We got a lot of news to talk about. In 3, 2. Hello, and welcome to Coldcast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear. Oh, what did I do? All week long. Well, it's crazy. Joining me today, if you see him dressed on the street as a Christmas elf, it's not because he's working at the mall with El Caney as mall Santa. No, that's just the way he likes to dress this time of year, including those little elf shoes with the long, pointy tips on them with the bells at the end.
As long as they're waterproof.
He's the magic editor of Cult Mac. Lewis Wallace is here. I didn't know those were waterproof.
Yeah. Well, most of your elf gear, because where do they hang out? In the snow.
That's a great point. I hadn't considered those, but those elf shoes, that's such a practical feature because they seem like just such frivolous, decorative shoes with the long pointy toes. Like sometimes they twirl around and they have the bell at the end.
The bells are just in case you get lost in a blizzard.
Oh, so those are functional as well.
Oh yeah, man.
Elfwear.
Elfwear.
That's like a new brand that we should start. Elfwear, and it's like practical, everyday adventure clothes, but styled in the elf fashion. It's like a crocheted
We're
vest.
gonna be rich again.
It's like a crocheted vest, right? Like, but it actually has like padding in there to keep you warm.
And
there's the waterproof elf shoes.
And the thing is, I was going to have like what do they call it? The reflectant stuff, so you don't get creamed by a UPS truck in the dark.
We need to discuss this more after this show. We gotta put together our business plan so we can get that bank loan and get this get our Elfwear brand
off. The money starts rolling in.
Lewis and I were talking earlier about what were we talking about? I don't even remember, but you brought up the term. You were saying it's like as reliable as British steel, which cracked me up. And I was like, dude, that's like El Caney's spy alias, right? It's like, here comes British steel. But it has like a dual meaning, right? Because it's a cool spy name, but it also implies it's kind of low quality.
Jeez. When I think British steel, I think nothing but that fantastic Judas Priest album. So
Oh, was that what
To
that was
me, it's got
called?
good connotations. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so I thought
What?
I thought you came up with that term. I was super impressed, but no, you stole it from
I'm
Judas
glad I
Priest.
ruined it.
British Steel. All right, let's see here. Before we dive into all the fun, and there's much fun to be had, we're going to be talking about Elon Musk declaring war on Apple. The new, I think it's going to be called the X phone, the Space X phone. I think that's in our future. Let's see here. What else do we have? We got an update on the Elon Musk story. We haven't even told you the story. We've already got an update. We've got a leaked 2023 MacBook Pro benchmarks with the new M2 Max. Ooh, baby. Hold tight for that. And I got to talk about iCloud storage. You know what? We got to keep the pressure on Apple. I have a picture to show you that perfectly illustrates the problem with iCloud storage. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll wrap up with a fun story while walking the streets of NYC with 300 iPhones. Not a great idea, guys. Not a great idea.
Who would have guessed?
To do that? It reminds me of this scene. I'm watching this show called The Leftovers. The Leftovers, maybe? That's not called The Leftovers. I always forget the name of this damn
I
show.
think that is what it's called.
It actually might be, but it's about this world where there's like this strange event where like 1 to 2% of the population disappears worldwide. And there's like this scene where this guy is leaving a casino because he won a bunch of money, and he carries out a bag of cash. And I'm like, dude, who carries a bag of
Not
cash
smart.
outside of a casino after winning? Well, guess what happens next? Just take one wild guess, right? Same conclusion as the guy walking out of Apple with the iPhones. I'll just tell you that much. Okay, let's see here. Before we dive in, let me give a very hearty thank you to Squarespace for supporting this episode. Squarespace.com/cultcast. It's almost 2023, Lewis. Can you believe that? And
Not really. I was just saying myself the other day, how did it get to be November? And now it's already December.
I know. It's flying by. I actually don't mind when the winter flies by because winter is not my favorite season. So I'm happy that it's going fast, but it's almost a new year, and if you haven't launched that website that you've been thinking about to promote that business that you've been procrastinating on starting, now's the time, my friends. I put Squarespace servers under pressure in this last month because you guys were loving the Coat Cloth Duo offer, which is over, by the way. Thank you very much. And if you believe me, I would
check that. I just checked to see
last night.
Been updated.
I almost forgot to change it, but I did. It is gone, gone. So if you missed out on that, tough noogies. But people were ordering like crazy. And maybe it's because it's also like close to like Christmas season or something, but I was stressing their servers and they pulled it off beautifully. My store is run on Squarespace. I didn't have to do anything. I mean, everything, once you get everything set up, which is super easy to do, everything just manages itself. It never goes down. And I never have any issues with it. It's just there. It's the closest thing that I've ever had to a U.S. Mint. It just prints money for me.
Wow.
I give them a little slice of it every month, a little tiny slice, little itsy bitsy tiny slice, and the orders, Lewis, they just keep rolling in. Which, by the way, we do have a new deal going. If you missed the Coat Cloth Duo deal, I'm sorry you missed it. That was a good one. But now if you use code CULTCAST at checkout, cultcloth.co, you get 2 extra carry cloths with your order. So still a pretty sweet deal. If you haven't ordered anything, check it out, cultcloth.co. But it all runs on the Squarespace platform. They have everything that you need to grow your business online. It's easy to create a website. You can get everything fine-tuned. You can bring in collaborators if you want. You can market your business. You can have on-brand email campaigns and social media tools that make it easy to grow your audience, retain your customers. I just love it, man. It's great. And it's super easy to update. I mean, when I was closing off that sweet Coat Cloth Duo deal, it took me about 2 minutes to do. And you could do it too. You could have your own money mint at squarespace.com/cultcast. You just got to figure out what you're going to sell. That's the key issue. But I've got some ideas around that too. Maybe hit me up on Twitter. Maybe I got to toss a few ideas your way. I got too many ideas, not enough time. That's my problem. Squarespace.com/cultcast. Squarespace.com/cultcast. If you use code cultcast at checkout, you'll save 10% off your first purchase, and if you order a year of service, you get an additional discount as well, which is what I do. All right, Lewis, let's hop into this week's stories, shall we? Now, normally we wouldn't talk about Twitter on this show. We try to avoid it, actually, believe it or not. But our worlds have collided, Lewis. There's nothing we can do about it because Elon Musk, he's declared war, Lewis.
Yeah,
on
this
TC.
was I was stunned to see this ramp up like this. It escalated quite quickly this week.
I was just going to say that.
Elon Musk declared war on Apple Monday afternoon. A Twitter war, anyway. So he goes on Twitter, the social media site that he just purchased and has been, I don't know, retrofitting, right-sizing, gutting, depending on your opinion.
I think, I think all those terms are appropriate.
So he goes on Twitter and he starts publicly objecting to the 30% fee that Apple takes off all purchases in the iPhone store. This is, of course, supposedly he's going to roll out Twitter Blue or some other sort of verification thing where people supposedly charge $8 or pay $8 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if it goes to the App Store, then Apple gets that nice 30% slice of that money.
And they're getting ready to relaunch Twitter Blue too. So and Elon, I think this is his play to replace all the advertising revenue that he's concerned he might lose. So Apple takes a big cut of that. That's a big problem for old Elon.
Yeah. So to his credit, Elon's been doing all this right out in public, and I mean, I saw him responding to reporters about asking questions about it, and he's like, what's a good way to get a hold of you? He's like, right here's good.
He's like, all over the place, man.
Ask
like
questions.
He's like Beetlejuice. If you say his name 3 times, he appears. No joke.
Yeah. So anyway, he starts out by saying, Apple has mostly stopped advertising on Twitter. Do they hate free speech in America?
Well, that was how the whole thing started. Did you just say that?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
So he literally just goes right for the jugular with that, and that's what kicked the whole thing off. And that's when everyone grabbed their popcorn. It was like, oh boy, let's wait and see what happens here.
Next, he says Apple has also threatened to withhold Twitter from its App Store, but won't tell us why, which is very provocative.
Mm-hmm.
Made everybody wonder: is this actually true?
Mm-hmm.
Is this what's going on? And eventually, what was the other? We don't even have the show notes are so sad.
Don't criticize these show notes. These are the perfect. Everyone says these are the perfect show notes. Is there something that is
some amazing quote that was like so? Oh, I know. I remember now. Now it's gone.
Did I delete it by accident?
The tweet appears to have been deleted.
Oh yeah, he deleted. So I'm showing the tweet on the screen where it's a meme of a car on a freeway, and if you stay in the left lane, it's pay 30% to Apple. If you go to the right lane, it's go to war. And there's a car peeling out, heading towards the right, and the car is labeled Elon. So he deleted it apparently. Probably maybe after his big meeting with TC.
That's pretty lame. I mean, I gotta say, of all things that I don't like, it's people deleting tweets. I mean, yeah, okay, if you put something up and it's got some egregious typo,
I'm surprised he did that actually,
and you want to redo it, or if you, I mean, I suppose if you slandered someone or something, maybe you might want to delete it. But even then, I think it's better to respond to your own tweet, say, hey, this was wrong. I don't know. It's quite odd. It surprises me. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who'd go around deleting tweets, but I guess it's not the first time, right? I mean, it seems like I remember reading about something else he deleted. But it just makes you wonder sometimes. I mean, all this Twitter stuff, like, is it really
crazy,
him
man.
every time? Was it Trump every single time actually doing every single tweet? Or are there teams of people doing these things?
I think it's, I mean, with Trump and with Elon, I think you're getting it direct from the spigot. I don't think it's anyone but them doing these tweets. I mean, their tone is so similar. Like it's gotta be Elon in person doing this stuff.
I just don't know how in the world the CEO of several successful companies has time to go on Twitter and do these
that's
crazy
what
memes.
I wonder too. I mean, the guy is, he's got Tesla, SpaceX, and now Twitter. I mean, he I think I saw that he said he was working 70 to 80 hours a week, and now he's working about 120 hours a week. So
maybe it's crystal meth.
Maybe it's crystal meth. Let's see here. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's crystal meth. Let's see here. 120 hours a week divided by 7. How many hours a day? So that's 17 hours a day. every day of the week. Not to mention, he's got 5 kids. So I don't know how he does either. But there's a reason that we're bringing all this up. Because it just kept escalating, right? And I'm sure all of you know what's happening with Twitter, so I'm not going to bother boring you with all the details. But clearly, Elon Musk is taking it over. He's changing a bunch of stuff, and he's, I think, concerned. And according to him, Apple has threatened to pull Twitter from the App Store. Now, this is something that I think inevitably is going to happen. I think Apple, I've said this before, this may not be a popular opinion with some of you, I think they have way too much power. And actually, I felt I felt vindicated when Elon Musk essentially said the same thing on Twitter, I think earlier this week. He was like, everyone uses the internet through apps, and Apple and Google get to control who has an app. And if they don't like what you're doing, they can just boot you, which I don't think it should work that way. I think it should be more like the way the internet works in the US, where you have these providers who just provide you the pipe, and you get to do with the pipe what you want. Now, it's Apple's marketplace, it's Google's marketplace, so in my mind, I'm like, I can see an argument for let's just let them run the marketplace however they want, but if they don't want to allow content, then they need to allow ways for people to put apps on their phone that they don't want to allow. There need to be alternate marketplaces. I'm going on a on a tangent here, but someone was asking Elon, well, if Apple boots you from the marketplace, what are you going to do? And he's like, well, my only choice would be to launch my own phone. And I was like, dude, that would be, if anyone could launch a phone that could actually compete with Android and iPhone, I think it would be Elon Musk. I think it would be called the X phone, man. I mean, it would be tied into Starlink, right? So you could have signal anywhere you go. Now, look, I don't know if that would actually work, but Starlinks cover the entire globe now. If they launched more of them, or they changed the technology in such a way that you don't need cell phone towers anymore, that would be a pretty appealing feature to most people, I think. And it would give Elon the ability to, have Twitter on a very popular phone. I don't know if TC would pull Twitter. I mean, it's almost at this point, like you said earlier, Lewis, it's almost too big to fail. But I could see it happening, man. I mean, they yanked Parler out of the App Store. They yanked Parler out of the Play Store. Amazon, AWS, Amazon Web Services, drop them. If they get too hot, especially as we get close to the election, if there starts to be language allowed on Twitter that Apple and Google don't like, I think they would boot them, man. I think they would. They're big, but I don't know if they're too big to fail. But as an update to this story, so things just seemed like they were careening off a cliff, and getting worse and escalating. And then we get this tweet from Elon, which Lewis and I both thought was a troll. So Elon Musk tweets, thanks Tim Cook for taking me around Apple's beautiful HQ. And I was like, this doesn't look like Apple HQ.
Looks like a duck pond.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a pond that would be at Apple, but apparently this was real. I mean, things escalated quickly, and I don't know what happened, but clearly Tim Cook got a hold of Elon Musk and gave him a tour around Apple Park. So that's a good sign, I guess. I mean, they're starting to work together. And we had this other story following this one. I complained to Lewis that I think this headline is a little inaccurate. It says Elon Musk admits Apple never planned to kick Twitter out of the iPhone App Store. But what actually happened is Elon Musk said that he had a good conversation with TC, and that according to TC, what he told Elon was that they were not considering kicking Twitter out of the App Store. So whether that was a change of plans or whether that was originally the case all along, we don't know. We don't know what happened. But at least for now, it looks like the Twitter app is safe. Now, I wonder if Elon was also negotiating a new rate for Twitter Blue, right? Because he's going to reactivate that, I think, sometime in the next month. And I'm sure he doesn't want Apple taking a 30% cut of that. So maybe he was negotiating for a smaller percentage. Because Apple takes, 15% after the first year? They drop it from 30 to 15. So maybe Elon was like, look, just give me that rate right out of the gate,
I don't even know what Twitter Blue is. I'm just going to be honest. Is that...
Well, it's nothing really at this point.
Or what was it? Didn't it have to do with verification? Or
well,
was it...
it originally it was for a suite of features. I think better analytics, maybe the ability to edit tweets. That was pre Elon Musk. And then Elon Musk came in and he said, well, now anyone who gets Twitter Blue is going to have the verification badge shown next to their name. And I'm sure you heard what happened with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, well,
That was
to be
utter
honest, it's
chaos.
all happening so fast and things changing from minute to minute. It's like I don't even, I can't keep up with it. And frankly, I don't even. What I would like to know is what actually happens, not 57 things that happen in between that may or may not happen. But you're saying that, was it like no advertisements too?
Wait,
You wouldn't
sorry.
see those horrible sponsored tweets in your feed.
I'm not sure
Twitter
if you got to. I'm not sure if it turned off ads. I'm not sure about that. But then Elon changed it to the verification thing, and then everyone started impersonating popular companies, popular
Right.
people. Right, like that. That was not a good situation for Twitter. It was hilarious. Watching it happen was hilarious, but not a great move for Twitter. So he turned it off again, and he said that they are rethinking Twitter Blue, and once they feel like they have it dialed in, they're gonna relaunch it. And I think it will include the verification badge, although they're going to be expanding the verification system, so there will be different color badges
Yeah,
that,
like
that mean
blue,
different
gray.
things. Yeah, that's what I heard too.
Gray is government or something.
Yeah, right. And then I think it will also give you like some other benefits that we have yet to hear about because they haven't announced them yet.
Maybe like a Tesla giveaway entry.
Oh, yeah, maybe, or like
Maybe
you could edit
that's it.
tweets, or you create longer tweets. One of the things that he also said was that he is trying to make Twitter a better place for video. So if you paid for Twitter Blue, you would be able to upload up to 40 gigs of video in a single file, which is
Sheesh.
massive. And I think he's trying to build in some type of like advertising system. You know what? That's the thing. That's the exciting thing I think about all this is, I mean, I'm a big fan of free speech. I think many of you know that. Some of you disagree with me. That's cool. But I like that aspect of it. And then also, I like to see the new features that he's working on. Like, he could really turn this into something that's a lot more useful than what it is. I mean, he's talked about payment systems. He wants to encrypt DMs so that they work more like Signal, which would be great, right? And he even said, like, I shouldn't be able to read your DMs. Like, no one at Twitter should be able to read your DMs. Those are your private messages, right? So encrypt those. Love that. Give people the ability to make longer tweets if they have Twitter Blue. I think that's a great idea as well. The video thing, the reason I think that's interesting is because one of the powerful things about YouTube is that they have this tight integration with ads, and it's one of the only places where you can actually make real money releasing videos. Well, where's the other place that has a really well-established ad platform? It's Twitter. So if Twitter allowed for more video functionality, they already have the integration with ads, and now maybe you can make money on Twitter with your videos, which I'm sure a lot of mainstream media companies would love, because right now I don't think there's any way to make money on Twitter. It's just, basically people just having conversations, but no way to monetize. So I think that would be pretty cool too. It's exciting, man. I love seeing all the changes that are happening at Twitter. I just hope they're still around in a year. Yeah.
It's to me, it's weird seeing all the grumbling and all the complaining and all the fear of, oh my God, people might actually be able to, say something that some secret committee doesn't approve of.
I love the transparency too. Like, he's talked a lot about making things transparent, and I love that. Part of Twitter's issue is they're not really a trusted platform right now because of all the background censorship that's happened. So make that stuff public. Give the public a way to see what decisions are being made and why people are being censored or who's being censored and why. I think that would go a long way towards restoring trust in the platform. I'm looking at the chat here. Derek Lund said, the ads were so annoying. The fast-paced ad gifs were so disorienting. Yeah, I agree with that. I think everyone probably is in your same camp. Level Remix, YouTube Premium has no ads. I would think Twitter Blue should follow. I totally agree. I actually pay for Twitter Premium, and I love it. It's
YouTube, you mean?
Yes, thank you. YouTube Premium. And I watch a lot of YouTube, so not having to skip like 5, 6, 7 ads per video, man, is totally worth $13 in my opinion. Just make sure if you get it, you buy it from YouTube and not through the YouTube app. Because if you do it through the YouTube app, it's literally 30% more. They just mark it up and pass that expense straight to you so that you can give your TC tax directly to Apple.
Wow.
Yeah,
forever.
Yeah, exactly, forever. So definitely buy it from Google and not from not from Twitter. Let's see here. I'm looking to see if we have any more comments in here. These are moving actually too fast for me, even though there's not that many in here. I'm just slow.
Slow it down, please.
Slow it down, guys. Only one comment per 2 minutes, please. Can't read that fast. So we took you through the full Twitter story. Do we have anything else that we wanted to do on this? Oh, Lewis, did I miss anything from the update?
I don't really think so. I mean,
Yeah, sorry, I took that from you, didn't I?
Yeah, it's okay.
That happens.
I'm used to it.
I just was surprised. Like when I saw that tweet of him on campus, I really thought this must be a troll.
I absolutely thought it was, which is in keeping with everything else. I mean, like he's a lot of the stuff he tweets is like very straightforward, very factual, very matter of fact, and, and then like the thing about just using that highway meme to say he's going to go to war with Apple, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I mean our headline says he's going to war with Apple. It's I actually thought that headline was a little bit strong because I mean, it's like he's joking about going to war with Apple, right? I mean,
Maybe
that's where we're at.
I took it as like a half joke, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he was kind of joking, but he kind of wasn't.
Reporting memes as news is it's not a high point in journalism.
But the last meme was, well, I guess I'll have to buy Twitter. So now I'm like, oh.
I know it's a weird time, and like I said, I mean he is talking to journalists on the platform in the open, like saying ask your questions here and I'll answer them here, which is pretty smart, really, like taking control of the situation so it can't be spun by somebody who has an anti Elon Musk agenda, which shockingly there's a lot of them these days. I really didn't know so many people had such a problem with him.
I think that's a newfound thing. I think people liked him a lot more before he I don't think he's getting political, but inherently what he's doing is it affects politics. So I think a lot of people dislike him for that now. And there are a lot of people that don't want to see all sides of a conversation represented on Twitter. There are a lot of people that don't want to see that. And so they hate that he's changing Twitter to be a place, the public town square. I mean, that's really what Twitter is these days. And I think a lot of people would rather not have it be that open. And there has to be some level of moderation, right? Like you can't just allow anything on a platform that's digital like that, because clearly like there's some stuff that you don't want, like like child pornography and all sorts of horrible stuff like that. So that, like, knowing where that line is, that's the hard part. Like, where do you draw the line and say anything below this line is not allowed, everything above it is cool? And the argument is like, where does that line belong? That's the whole entire argument. And I think both of us are more comfortable with a line that is lower. It's like, we're going to allow most stuff. Things that break the law, not allowed. But if you're just creating memes or you're being rude to people, it's like, well, that's what the block button is for, right? I block people all the time, mostly people trying to sell me NFTs.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little thing called the marketplace of ideas, right? Okay.
Yeah.
You just proved that you're an idiot. So it doesn't mean, I mean, idiots are allowed or should be allowed. Stupid ideas are allowed.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my in my judgment, I definitely, I'm with you. I think more free speech is better.
I saw someone say something that I thought was really interesting, and it resonated with me. And he said something like, "Why should Twitter provide be forced to provide safety for adults voluntarily using their platform?" Right?
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean? It's like, and I thought that was a interesting point. I was like, yeah, we're all adults here for the most part, and you're choosing to use Twitter. So
and the whole concept that speech is violence is just, I mean, I'm sorry, getting hit with something like physical is violence.
Yeah, being jump kicked, that's violence.
Being, somebody saying something mean about you is not violence.
Well, I mean, I can understand the sentiment that people are being bullied on Twitter, and that shouldn't be allowed. But those people can also leave Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be there. If you're being bullied somewhere, you can deactivate your account, and that ends it right there. So,
Well, who defines what bullying is? I mean,
Well, there's also that. Yeah. And that kind of goes to the whole where's the line argument, right? Is defining what those terms even mean at this point. Because people have different opinions about what those things mean. Anyway, I wasn't meaning to go down this rabbit hole. That was not the point of the discussion. But we'll see what happens with
look at all
Twitter
these rabbits.
if you want some rabbits, head over to my house. I got rabbits all over the place, man. Wild ones, tame ones. I got them all. I got every variety you want. Of course, my tame ones are like, 44 pounds each, covered with
Jeez.
blubber. They've got like 4 chins. Like when my other rabbit just sits there, I can see it's a giant pouch just wrapped around its neck. And then there's like the wild ones that are running outside the rabbit coop. They're all like skin and bones, right?
Jeez.
Completely different class of rabbit. They're always running away. Like these rabbits couldn't run to save their life, or definitely not for very long. Let's see here. Should we move on, Lewis? What else?
Why not?
Let's talk about MacBook Pro benchmarks, shall we? Should we talk a little bit more specifically about Apple? You guys might like this story. So check this out. Oh, do we have a giveaway this week, Lewis? Should we do that real quick?
The current giveaway expired, and I don't have any information about the new one. I'm sure there'll be a new one up
Okay.
by the time this podcast is released. But right now,
I'll post it.
we do not.
Okay, I'll post
So
it in
very
the show notes
sorry.
then. Let's talk about MacBook Pro benchmarks. So we were expecting to get a new MacBook Pro at the end of this year, and many of you know it got bumped, and especially with all the Foxconn production woes, I think all sorts of stuff is going to get bumped. Although Apple's going to be moving more of their chip manufacturing to that plant in Arizona, it's pretty exciting, man. There's a lot of new chip manufacturing happening in the U.S. They have that plant in Ohio that Intel's trying to open. There's the activity happening in Arizona, so it's pretty cool to see this stuff start getting made here. But so some very early benchmark scores for the 2023 MacBook Pro with the M2 Max were revealed, I think, yesterday. The performance scores show a modest 14 to 20% increase over the 2021 model in multi-core scores. Let's see here. I did the math on the single core scores, which I calculated to be about a 5 or 6% increase in performance, so much more modest in that area. The M2 Max benchmarked was 12 cores, and the M1 Max only has 10 cores, so that's a popular way for them to increase performance these days, right? It's a lot harder to increase single core performance, which I think is arguably more important in many ways, because not every application you're going to use is optimized to use 12 cores at one time. Like even Logic, when I export Logic, I swear it's only using what are those 2 cores called? Not the performance cores. The efficiency cores. Thank you. Because I have a CPU monitor in my menu bar, and I can see which cores are being used and how much they're being used, and it only ever lights up 2 cores. And I'm like, what the heck, man? You would think that Logic would do better than this. So I think the efficiency of single cores is more important, but that's a lot harder to tweak. Nevertheless, it's going to be a significant increase in multi-core performance, and then a slight increase probably in single core performance. But you also get the ability to add more RAM. So the new model was able to support 96 gigabytes of RAM opposed to the 2021 MacBook Pro. M1 Max tops out at 64 gigabytes of RAM. Now, I thought 64 gigs was plenty, IMO. I got 32 myself, and I'm like, unless you're doing like 8K 1-hour documentaries in Final Cut Pro, I can't see a situation where you would easily max out 64, but I know there are people doing things that are way more powerful than what I'm doing, clearly, and so the option to have more RAM is always a good thing. And we're expecting these to come in the first quarter of 2023. So if you have been waiting for a new MacBook Pro, your hopes and dreams will soon be fulfilled. I love M2 MacBook Pro. Did I say that? I love my M1, man. It's a fantastic machine. It's one of the best Macs I've ever owned, actually. I thought about waiting for the M2, but if you get a refurbished M1, which might be the play when the M2s come out, you'll have yourself a really excellent computer. Because the thing about the M2 is just seeing the power, the efficiency that we've seen thus far. it's pretty obvious that it's just an overclocked M1, at least to me. They activated 2 more cores, they overclocked it a little bit, so it's less efficient but more powerful, and it also runs hotter. So I think there's a good argument to be made that sticking with the M1 is a good idea until the M3 rolls along, which I think will be an architectural change and will actually be a leap forward. And this seems to be the way it goes. Like, they're going to stay with the same architecture generally for 2 years, and then on the 3rd year they switch to a new architecture, then that lives for 2 years, right? Which is generally the way it works for Intel as well. Any thoughts, Lewis, before we move on from that story?
I'll tell you the one thing that surprised me. I was, I put our stuff on Twitter and Facebook or whatever, and well, not Twitter. Twitter's automatic, but Facebook, and I was like, oh yeah, I have to go read this story because I hadn't read it, right? And I didn't realize that they were already up to 64 gigabytes, and I saw 96. I'm like, 96 gigabytes in a laptop. I don't know, man. I guess I just haven't been paying attention. I was stunned by that amount of RAM possibly coming soon.
Yeah, that's an astounding amount. We got iCave Dave here in the chat, keeping me honest. He's saying they didn't activate more cores. They weren't in the M1. Yes, thank you. I didn't mean they were literally just turning on cores that were turned off. All I meant to say was they just toss a couple more cores in there. They're like, let's just overclock a little bit, toss a couple more cores in there, and the people will be happy. Although maybe there are cores in the M1 that aren't activated. Do we know that that's not a fact? I don't know.
Send Ant-Man in to check it out.
There you go. But yeah, you're probably right. It probably is that they just added more cores into the M2 and or the M2 Max, and they weren't there previously. So thanks for that context. Okay, let's see here. Oh, before we wrap up here, Lewis, we cruised through all these stories really fast. I wanted to show this picture to the good people about iCloud. Okay, where is this? Where'd my image go? Yeah. Here you go.
That's quite a chart.
Here you go. iCloud storage over the years. This perfectly summarizes the problem with iCloud. And this goes into my argument that the whole thing is kind of a scam. So the chart that I'm showing here for all the people listening is the amount of free iCloud storage you get charted over time. And it's just a straight line going across the whole chart. From 2011 to 2022, you've only ever gotten 5 gigabytes for free. And the thing that about this that really chapped my bum was I was like, I'm almost out of my 2 terabytes of storage that I've been paying Apple for $10 a month. And I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And the thing that annoys me is, well, I know that Apple's making profit off my $10 a month, 2 terabyte plan, but they won't offer me another 2 terabytes for $10 a month, right? The only option that I have is to pay for Apple One and then also keep my iCloud storage going. And the only reason Apple does that is because they want to force more profit out of you. They want to squeeze that extra profit out of you. And I think that's pretty uncool, Lewis. Like, all I want is a storage. I don't want Apple Arcade. I don't care about Apple Music. I just want to have the storage because the storage is really what I need. And Apple, if I want another 2 terabytes of storage, is going to force me to spend $33 a month on Apple One. And you know what, Lewis? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to give Apple $50 a month for some iCloud storage and then a bunch of services that I'll never use. Like Apple News, like I'm not going to use Apple News. So we got to keep the pressure on them, man. Like, I'm going to keep talking about this, well, occasionally, just because we got to keep the pressure on. Like, this is not cool. This is not the way to treat your customers. They get you on these plans, and then you keep using more and more storage. You keep storing more 4K video in your iCloud, which, by the way, you can't actually ever view anything in 4K. I don't know if you caught that tirade that I had like 2 weeks ago. The Apple TV 4K doesn't show you videos in 4K, not from your iCloud photo library. It downsizes them all to either 1080 or 720. 720. So you're storing all this 4K video that you can't actually even watch in 4K. It's continually eating up your storage space that you're paying for. And once you max it out, Apple triples the price on you to get the same amount of storage that you're already paying for.
We're constantly, Cult of Mac deals, we're constantly offering deals on different cloud storage services. Like we got one right now, this thing called Prism Drive. Mm-hmm. 10 terabytes lifetime subscription, $69 one-time fee.
What was that you said? How much was it?
10 terabytes lifetime, $69.99 one time.
69, dude!
I can't believe it was.
I didn't even realize I set myself up for it. I thought.
Oh man,
Oh,
that was an
God.
alley-oop right there. Thanks for the setup there. You know, the thing though about iCloud storage is it's fantastic, man. I mean, the storing your photos in iCloud is so convenient. It works so well. It's easy to share your photos with your friends and family. You can have the shared photo libraries. Now you can have or shared photo albums, I should say. Now you can actually have shared photo libraries with people, which I've started using with my wife. Game changer. This should have been something that they created 5 years ago, but it's a really smart feature. It works really well. So I want to keep my photos in iCloud, but I'm not going to pay Apple $33 a month for more storage. You know, like I'm just not going to do it. So I mean, my only other option is to download all my photos from Apple and store them somewhere. I'm doing that on my Synology NAS right now, but then it makes it hard to share the stuff. And also, it actually is. Apple has made it hard to download and keep all of your photos on your device. It used to be somewhat easier. I just went through the whole process recently. It's a huge pain in the butt now because they don't let you choose which drive you want to store your photos on. They basically just choose your root drive, and that's where you have to store all your photos. Well, who has an extra 2 terabytes of storage space on their Mac, right? Like, no one does. So there's just a lot of things happening there that make me think that Apple is intentionally making things difficult so that you stay with them, and then they just raise the price, and you got to just pay them that money. But I really don't know what I'm going to do. I have like 250 gigabytes left, and then I'm out of space. And I don't know when Apple instituted the bigger plans, like you can pay $1, I think, for 50 gigabytes. You can pay $4 for 200, and then it's $10 for 2 terabytes. I don't know when they implemented that, but they have literally never raised it. And the base storage being 5 gigabytes, they've literally never raised that. I mean, the base should be 50, and like the first tier should be 500 gigabytes, and then it should be 2 terabytes, and then it should be 4 terabytes. Like, space is so cheap now. The only reason that they're doing it the way they are is because it generates service revenue for Apple. I'm not trying to bag on Apple. You guys know I love a lot of stuff that they're doing, but this is one of those things where I'm like, it's going to affect you eventually, and Apple needs to do something about it because there's literally no place to go. It's like, what am I supposed to do? I'm at the end of the line with my storage, and I have no idea what I can do besides fork over, 3 to 4 times the cost for another 2 terabytes of storage. Google gives 15 gigabytes for free. Yeah, that's true. Norbert saying a white van with men in black suits is showing up at Airfun's house right now. They're in white suits. Their suits are white. Their batons are white. Yeah, everything about it's white.
The nets are white.
Yeah, exactly. The AI driven, the Neuralink nets are all white. The whole thing. So I just don't know where I'm gonna go, man. I've been trying to figure this out, and I'm thinking I might put everything on my Plex drive, but
what a pain!
I know it's a huge pain, and I don't know what to do.
It just seems like they should bump it up, and especially it's weird that it's ridiculously small amount of storage and a ridiculously high monthly fee.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, compared to these competing services, right? I mean, yes, it's more convenient, and everybody will pay for convenience, but I mean, I don't know, man.
See, it's so smart. The whole thing, whoever architected this really is smart. So you get a phone, it's 4K capable, and so you just start taking all these 4K videos. It's filling up your storage. You get to your 5 gigabyte limit, your phone starts nagging you. All the time. It nags you all the time until you finally fork over the money, and then you're good for a while, and then it starts to nag you again. And so you upgrade again, and then they added the family plan, and I was like, okay, 10 terabytes or 2 terabytes for the whole family. That's cool. I got my mom on it. I got my wife on it, right? But you have 3-4 phones in the family taking 4K video that you can't watch in 4K, filling up your iCloud photo space. It's like, well, that's going to fill up fast, man. So And what happens when you get to 4 terabytes and there's literally no place for you to go? Like, you can't even upgrade from there. There's nothing else you can do. What are you supposed to do about that? Start deleting old photos?
Oh, spend your next month just like going through and editing your photo.
Yeah, what
library.
a nightmare, right? It's
they've got to increase it. I mean, they keep making the file sizes bigger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, do you have live photos turned on? So now I do that all the time because I love it.
Yep.
But you know, every picture I take is now a 5-second video.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm not even a pro. I'm just some guy with a camera taking pictures of my wife, you know, drinking a glass of wine in Italy. You know, it's like, next thing you know, I don't think I'm anywhere close to bumping my head on the 2 terabyte limit, but I can imagine it happening because I don't spend any time weeding them out.
I mean, eventually it will happen. This is the end game for all iCloud photo users. Eventually you will run out of space.
Well, they're going to have to make it bigger.
Well,
they're going to have
that's what I thought too. But I mean, they haven't yet, and I've heard no plans for them to do it. I think they just need to double all the plans, all the base plans, and just say, okay, you know, if you had 50 gigs, now you have 100. If you have 2 terabytes, or if you have 500 terabytes, now you have 1. If you have 2, now you have 4. That's got to be the way they go, man.
I'd be fine with it if they just doubled the top one.
I'd be fine with that too. Screw all those other people.
Because they want to keep making the money, right? Yeah. I'm not saying it's great or anything, but I mean, you know, they do need to make money. It's not just like the App Store. It's not free to run. So that's fine. You know, if you're somebody who never takes any pictures, you don't shoot any video, you don't have any files, fine. You know, that small amount is fine.
I hate to be a broken record. I'm going to say this one last time because I'm 100% right on this and no one else is talking about this. One of the greatest scams of our time is 4K video on the iPhone because the iPhone won't play you that video in 4K. Neither will the iPad. Neither will the Apple TV 4K. Neither will your Mac unless you have a 5K screen and the video is stored locally on your Mac. So the only way to watch a 4K video that you've recorded is to have it stored locally on the device that you are using and to stream it to a 4K TV via AirPlay or to watch it on a 4K screen on a Mac or on the Apple Studio display. That's your option for 4K video.
You've got to write this up. You got to write a manifesto.
It's a huge scam, man.
It's
one of the greatest money-making scams of our time because everyone feels like they're getting something and they're actually not getting anything. All you're doing is paying Apple to store something that you can't use. It's genius.
Can't easily use.
Yeah, can't easily use. And of course, the cherry on top is when you buy that Apple TV 4K thinking that it's going to play your photo videos in 4K. Nope, it doesn't do that.
That's a sour cherry.
Budge USA is just saying, all caps, write the post.
Come on, man.
It's like when you say, send the tweet.
Do it for the clicks.
You know that I'll do many things for a click. I would say most things for a click. I should honestly write this. I should write it up.
I'm just going to feed that rant into Otter AI and have it transcribed, and I'll have some AI image of you on a mountaintop.
You just need to put me. In a room with the iCloud storage program manager, the product manager, and just close the door. I'll get this problem fixed. 2 minutes. It won't even take more than a minute or two. I go straight for the kidneys. It's like I'm duking it out on the new Twitter, Lewis.
Hold their head underwater in that duck pond.
Yeah. You'll just hear. I'll give you more. I'm not even gonna let him finish talking. I just keep dunking until he changes the code. Change the code or keep getting dunked. All right, let's wrap up with this last story.
Oh, this is a great one.
Speaking of people getting dunked.
We love a crime story related to Apple, don't we?
Yeah.
The headline on this I thought was pure genius. I had nothing to do with it. Why walking the streets of New York City with 300 iPhones is a bad idea.
I don't even know how you would carry these. Did he have like a big wheelbarrow?
Think of a whole bunch of reasons that's a bad idea. Up to and including like straining your back, right? But,
yeah, just a hernia risk alone would be enough to get me not to do it.
So You won't believe this. A man was robbed of 300 iPhones he just
You
purchased.
literally won't believe this. You guys are not going to believe this.
Robbed of 300 iPhones he just purchased at the famous Apple store on Fifth Avenue early Monday. He walked out of the store and was soon assaulted by a pair of criminals who drove off with a bag carrying $95,000 worth of
I'm surprised
iPhones.
it was not worth more money. I mean, 300 iPhones, although they didn't say which ones he bought, I guess. I figured they were $1,000 a pop.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of money. So the details are even weird. Crime happened at 1:45 a.m. I heard that. I'm like, wow, did we get this wrong? But then that's a 24-hour store. I didn't realize that.
The Apple store is 24 hours?
Yeah.
So the guy goes into an Apple store at almost 2 a.m. to buy 300 phones. This is one of the strangest stories I've ever seen.
This is reported by some New York City radio station, 1010 Wins. So the victim, he's a shopkeeper, a guy who frequently buys Apple products and resells them in his store, which
also seems
weird
odd, right?
Yeah.
Like, why would you buy it from from some little shop when you can just go to Apple and buy them there?
Yeah. Especially if it's open 24/7. Maybe this whole thing is just a lie. Anyway, this time the purchase included hundreds of iPhone 13 units. iPhone 13, is that right? Now I need to go check that. Is it 13 or 14? Okay, maybe that.
I'm not going to read that comment, Jeff Druin.
So this guy reportedly leaves the Apple Fifth Avenue store, heads to his car carrying 3 bags of newly purchased Apple products. 2 men jumped out from behind their car, demanded he hand over the Apple merchandise. He refused, and you won't believe this, but a fight ensued. 2 criminals grabbed one of his bags and escaped. So there's another interesting thing. They only got one of the 3 bags. What was in the other 2?
It's probably because he was beating them with the bags. That's what I would have done. I would have been whirling that thing around like a morning star, right? Like in like the Gladiator movies. It would have been like zzz, zzz. I would have been like planting that thing in the guy's skull.
Yeah. So I mean, I've heard stories about New York City not being quite as nice as it used to be a few years ago. This does not sound very pleasant. It also doesn't sound very, very smart, really, to be honest, walking around with $100,000 worth of Apple
I'm
gear.
searching for this topic right now. I got to know. Okay, so how much does an iPhone 13 weigh, Lewis?
It's got to be like a pound in the box, right?
Right. Maybe not that much, but so let's see here. How much does this weigh? Because I got to know.
iPhone 13 weighs 6.14 ounces.
Okay, so 6.14 ounces. But let's say the box adds 2 ounces to that, right? So 8.14.
Half a pound.
Huh?
So it would be half a pound, right?
Okay, so half a pound. So let's see here. Let's do
150 pounds just of iPhones
I was just
alone.
going to say, how is this guy carrying 150 pounds of iPhones?
He's ripped, man. Which is
that would explain how he kept 2 of the bags.
Yeah.
What are you doing to my iPhones? Get out of here. Starts whirling them around. Jeez. Yeah, if you're going to be rolling with $200,000, $300,000 worth of iPhones, man, you got to bring a security guard with you. You know what I mean?
You would think.
I wonder if he could. There's so many parts of this story that are strange. Why did Apple let a guy walk in and buy 300 iPhones, first of all?
What do you mean? Why'd they let him?
Well, don't they have limits on how many you can buy? They just let you walk in and buy 300 iPhones?
I never tried to buy more than one.
Doesn't that seem a little odd to you? It just seems like there would be limits. Like, there's limits on everything. Like, if you try to buy something from Amazon, there's limits.
The more I think about this story, the weirder I think about it, or the weirder it seems to me. And like, I'm really starting to question some things.
It's because it's so outrageous. It's actually hard to believe. But that's why, Lewis, you gotta be careful these days, man. You gotta go packing some heat. That's what you gotta do. I'll leave the heat to you. I mean, it could be many different things. Maybe you have a golf club down your pant leg.
What about one of those little hand warmers with the little thing you use?
Not exactly the kind of heat I was thinking of. I was thinking like a Gatling gun, Lewis. Or maybe a samurai sword. Now, you could wear that on your back, right? And then when the guys start coming over, trying to rough you up, you unsheath that thing. You know? That would make them think twice.
Yeah, samurai swords are... You don't want to go up against one.
No.
I don't.
Especially if you're unarmed. But even if you're...
Oh, so you will be unarmed.
It's like that scene from the Book of Eli, where you probably didn't see this movie. Great movie for those of you that haven't seen it. You should check it out. Where there's like this bad guy going after Denzel Washington. And he's like, if you touch me again, you're not going to get that hand back. And the guy's like, oh, really? So he goes in for another poke. Hand comes right off, Lewis. It happened so fast,
Ooh.
you couldn't even see it. It was like, swing. All of a sudden, his hand just flies off.
Wow.
And he's like, well, you did warn me.
Really?
He goes,
You
warned me.
I think what I would say would be,
well, he did that first.
I don't know that I would have any other comments. Especially not, fair play. You warned me.
Well,
I mean, come on.
he did that first. He was surprised that his hand was gone. But once he kind of like the shock wore off, he's like, well, you did warn me. Because he was like trying to
And it's just
like crawl over and get his hand. And
This
Denzel's
is
like, nope.
some post-apocalyptic movie.
Yeah.
So it's even worse because not only is your hand gone, but you're not even in a time and a place where you could go to a
Oh,
hospital
no.
and
That guy was a goner.
potentially get it sewn back
That
on.
guy was a goner. Yeah. If you haven't seen The Book of Eli, it's actually, if you like post-apocalyptic movies, it's actually a great one. All right, Lewis. You know what that music means. That's it.
Party's
The
over.
party's over. Party's over. Sorry. That's all the cool cast we have for you guys this week. But you know what? The party continues. We're on the new Twitter. Duking it out. I got my samurai sword with me in case you say the wrong thing to me. That hand is staying with me. I'm at Arif on ERFON. Lewis is at Lewis Wallace. This has been the Cultcast, the best 30-plus minute app conversation you're going to hear all week long. New episodes of the Cultcast come out every Thursday night. Why does our viewership always go up right as we're wrapping? Every week.
Thank God it's over.
I want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. I think a machete might work, Lewis, or maybe just a rock. Just keep a rock with you. If someone's coming to like hurt you and you throw a rock at them, that's it, man. They're done.
Well, unless it sails right past their
Oh, unless you miss.
ear, and then you go,
Sorry.
sorry.
And then you just run. Leave your iPhones there and you run. You're like, I should have
Dump it all and
I
split.
should have brought my samurai sword. I think that'd be the smarter move. I'm a bear spray guy myself.
I'm always afraid with the bear spray or the pepper spray. I'm always afraid of, accidentally spraying myself in the face. That seems
No.
like exactly what
Then they
happened.
would leave you alone because they'd be laughing so hard.
Yeah.
Plus, it's also great for seasoning your grill meats.
Extra spicy.
I thought you said you wanted it extra spicy. Why are my eyes burning? All right, all. Have a good weekend. Bye, y'all.
Oh.